listening to the podcast Discarded, a true crime show that covers unsolved cases and works with real families to search for real answers. With your host, Lynn Marie. Please note that some names and resources may be omitted from the following publication to protect the identity of some participants. Welcome back for Episode 9, Part 3 of the Jack Jimenez story, where we will continue to discuss the 1998 disappearance of 20-year-old Jack Jimenez from Mastic Beach, New York. In the last episode, we talked with one of Jack's best friends, Javen. Javen told us about a bloody shirt that was found and a potential suspect in Jack's disappearance. But to give you a better recap, Javen shared with us that they were extremely close growing up, like family. But closer to the time that Jack went missing, we'll say like 6 months-ish before he disappeared, Jack started hanging around with a different group of people, but he still kept in touch with everybody else. Javen found out that Jack went missing through their friend John. John called Javen and said that Jack never came home and that he was considered a missing person, and immediately they got together and they devised a plan to start looking for him. Now, Javen admits that many details are foggy as it was 22 years ago, and John did most of the heavy lifting in terms of reaching out to people, communicating with people, and collecting the information regarding Jack. And again, unfortunately, John is no longer with us, so we're unable to ask him any of these details. So we really need to dig deep to even establish the basics here. So Javen told us that once they started searching, they started the search at the house where Jack lived on Mill Drive. And the residents there confirmed that he never came home, but some of his belongings were still there, like his wallet and his beeper. And Javen was not able to tell us exactly who was living at the house at that time, but the residents who did live there did point John and Javen into the direction of the person who supposedly saw Jack, or the last person that Jack was going to see. Now we know Jack went to visit somebody who lived close to D&K Deli. We don't have her name, we merely have the vicinity in which she lived. So John, Javen, and others went to this girl's house and she confirmed that Jack was there. She also confirmed that when Jack left her residence, she saw him get into a truck by D&K Deli. Now Javen said that standing in front of her house, you could see Neighborhood Road and D&K Deli from her house. There was no mention of a struggle, but it was apparent that there was more than one person in the truck or getting into the truck along with Jack. A few days after that, John received a call, and again, we don't know who from, but he received a call from someone who claims to have found a tank top that was thought to be Jack's, and it was covered in blood. Javen thinks it was this newer group of friends who have claimed to have found the shirt. And they supposedly found this at the end of William Floyd Parkway, down by the water, right before the bridge that connects to Smith Point Beach. The police supposedly looked down that way, but didn't find any other evidence down there that we know of. So we have a girl who claims to have spent time with Jack and then saw him get into a truck at the end of the road with multiple people. Then we also have a nameless group of friends or acquaintances of Jack's who supposedly found a bloody shirt. Now, Javen also talked about a guy named Rob, who was mentioned in Episode 1 from John's sisters. I actually had several inquiries after this last episode asking for Rob's identity. For many reasons, though, I'm not comfortable disclosing the information at this time. But apparently, this guy Rob had some sort of issue with Jack. It's unclear what the issue was, but Rob made it known to many that he was not on good terms with Jack, and he was going to make an example of Jack. Now, Rob had a black truck, and the assumption was that Rob was the one who picked up Jack in front of D&K Deli. And from Javen's recollection, Rob was questioned by the police and claims that he did pick up Jack, but he also claims that he dropped Jack off by Handy Pantry on Mastic Road, which is in walking distance from Jack's house on Mill Drive. Now, we cannot contact Rob to verify any of this information because 2 years after Jack went missing, Rob died. But the assumption is that Rob was not alone when he picked up Jack. But who was he with? And what do we know about Rob and his relationship with Jack? So in hopes of getting answers to some of these questions, we're going to continue to talk to people who were close to Jack at that time. As mentioned in our previous episode, we're going to hear from his former girlfriend Tammy, and this is what she had to say.
My name is Tammy Salamoni, maiden name Dugan. I dated Jack in 1996. That's when I first met him and his brother Jay. All three of us, plus my cousin, met Jack and Jay, and don't remember how we met, but I do remember the first time I seen Jack, and I said, oh, wow, he's so cute. He's so handsome. And it was just like an instant attraction upon all four of us. The four of us were inseparable. We always hung out. Then that's when I met Javen. I didn't know JC too well. I met the whole crew. I met everybody, and we hung out in Jeff's basement playing spades. And prior to this conversation, I heard Jay speaking about how Jack was very open to hanging out with anybody, and that was the truth. We went all over the place. We got along with everybody, and everybody loved Jack. We were both young. He was 18. I was 16 at the time. And we went to school together. We rode the bus together. And, Jack never left my side. I had some rough times with my family members, and he knew of it. So he used to sneak me into Stella's house, and she never had a clue. Sorry, Stella. But, I snuck in the house sometimes. And when she did finally catch me, I thought I was going to be dead. But, she was very understanding, and I loved her from that point, and it made me grow deeper and deeper into, Jack's arms. And, we had our times. We were young, but we had a very, very good group of friends. All those guys were together. They never, ever left each other, and I will never forget that. Jack was great. I'm only 4'11", so when I first met Jack, he looked like a monster to me, and I was like, oh my God, he's so tall. But he was like, like they said, he was a teddy bear. Jack was an awesome person. He was there for anybody and anybody. If there was a fight, he was there to help that person. He couldn't let nobody get jumped. He couldn't let nobody get hurt. He was just very straightforward, I have to say. We got along very good, and Jack really loved me. I was actually Jack's first girlfriend, and Jack was my first boyfriend. So there was a lot of chemistry there. There was a lot going on. He definitely protected me. Like, he was so overprotective of me. At first, I didn't understand it because I was so young. But then after, we parted a couple of years later, I realized that, that's just who he was. He was a protector. He loved to protect his brother, me, his mother, his brothers, his family. That's who he was. It's a lot to take in because I think back now at, 20 something years later, and it doesn't seem like he's gone. Part of me never really thought he was. I think that when people say he was in the cartel or he got into deep drugs, I think that's just a bunch of people talking because they didn't really know Jack. Did Jack smoke weed? We all did. Did he sell it? Yeah, he did. But that's all I knew of Jack. And if, let's just say, God forbid, he got into something after we parted, I still can't see it. I just knew that when Jack did disappear, I heard it in my aunt's voice, and she knew that he knew that something was wrong. Like, he was in trouble, but we just don't understand why.
I know you said that you and Jack had broken up a few months prior. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you explain to me where you were around the time when Jack went missing?
So Jack and I parted, I want to say 2 years after we were dating. It was very mutual. I can't say it was mutual. Jack never gave up on me. That's one thing I have to say. And I was young and I wanted to do my own thing. So with that being said, I was living at my grandmother's house in Shirley. Jack, I can't exactly tell you why he was not living at his mom's because they had a really great relationship. But I know at that time he was living with my aunt. A couple of months of Jack and I separated, me and him did not speak. There was no cell phones then, so we did not talk through cell phones. We just stayed apart. And one day my aunt called me, very, very uneased. And I said to her, "What's going on, Aunt Debbie?" And she said, "Have you heard from Jack?" And I said, "No." I said, "It's been a couple months. You know that, right?" And she was like, "Okay, I'm just making sure because you guys are young. I don't know if you guys got back together." She goes, "But Jack said he was stepping out for a few minutes and he's not home." And I said, "All right, well, Aunt Debbie," I said, "like you said, we're young. He's 20 years old. He probably has a girlfriend by now." She goes, "Tammy, he's never brought a female in this house. I've never seen a friend in my house." And I said, "So what are you implying?" She goes, "He left his beeper here and his wallet." Now, right away, there was just bells in my head. And I said, there's no way that's possible because, yes, Jack did sell weed at the time. He had his beeper on him like glue. He never would ever, even for a mistake, leave his beeper. So when she said that to me and I said, "Aunt Debbie, you better call the cops." And at that time, she already did. And sure enough, maybe 2 days later, I had detectives knocking on my door, questioning me about, the last whereabouts of Jack. And, I explained to them that we were parted. It's been a couple months. Can't tell you what month it was, but it's been a couple months. And I did explain to them. I didn't tell them anything else. I just said, Jack doesn't go anywhere without his beeper. And that's a little disturbing. They didn't take it too serious. People make mistakes. I've known Jack, at that time, a little over 2 years, and he would never, ever leave his wallet. Forget about his beeper. Never. So, they weren't much help. They just wrote down in their little pad, left. And then I got a little visit from Rob, which was very alarming to me because I did not care for him. I did not like him. He always scared me. And he parked his black truck right by the woods by my grandmother's house. And the reason why I know someone was there, because my grandmother and I were watching TV, I seen headlights go off. And I said to my grandmother, I said, stay right here because something's weird. Sure enough, I see Rob, and I said, Nana, I said, if something goes wrong, call the cops. And, I'll explain to you later. He comes up looking very paranoid, like always. Can I talk to you? And I stood by the screen door and I said, what's going on? And he said, have you heard from Jack? I'm looking for him. And I said, what's going on? He goes, no. Everything's okay. I just need to know where Jack is. And I said, Rob, I haven't seen Jack in months. I said, I can't tell you. I said, I don't know what's going on. And I had my hand on the screen door the whole time because, like I said, he was not a very trusting or trustful guy, period. I slammed the door. That was the last time I ever heard from him again. And I did make it aware to the detectives, hey, I just got a visit from Rob. He never came to my house ever. So why is he coming to me now? So it's either he knew what Jack really was and he's playing it off, or he really was looking for him. I don't know, but I found that very odd. I called my Aunt Debbie right away and I said, listen, I don't know if you know about this guy or if you heard about him, but if anybody comes near your house, do not open that door because this guy is very dangerous and I don't trust him for the life of me.
How long and what type of relationship prior to this did Jack have with Rob, and what made you fearful of him?
Like I said, Jack got along with everybody. I know that Jack and Rob used to hang out, and of course I dated Jack. So me, him, and Rob used to drive around Mastic Shirley in his black truck. We used to drive around all the time. I didn't care for the conversations that he used to have with Jack. Nothing was positive. Nothing was motivating. It was always, I'm going to kill him, or I'm going to hurt this mother effer, or it was just general people out loud. And he would always show off that he had a shotgun in the back of his trunk. And he was showing it off to me and Jack one day. And I said to him, I said, do you really trust this guy? Like, Jack just shoved it off. Oh, no, he's not going to hurt you or, anybody else. And I just said, I don't know about that. This guy's a little weird. And it just always looked to me like he was on coke all the time. It just looked like he was out of his mind. He's talking 100 miles an hour. He hands all over the place. He couldn't sit still. If you mention Rob's name, everybody knows who he is. And it just, he never sat well with me. Never, ever, ever. He just always talked about bizarre stories about, how many people he knows, what he could do to somebody if they mess him up. And I just said to myself, what is going on with this guy? And he was always older than all of us. I never knew how old he was, but he was definitely way older than all of us. But like I said, he gave me such a bad vibe that I just never wanted to see that guy again. And when he came to my grandmother's house, all I kept thinking was, oh my God, like, is he going to hurt any of my family? What is he going to do? What is he going to do?
Now, did you ever hear anything from anybody that he wanted to hurt Jack?
I personally don't remember, to be honest with you. I can't see why anybody would. I just really, if it is over weed or something stupid like that, I just can't, that just doesn't make any sense. You don't hurt somebody over weed. You don't hurt somebody over something petty like that. So that's why it just sounds very odd to me, why he would actually want to hurt Jack. But it's no coincidence, and it's just, I really think that he had something to do with it, in all honesty. I don't think that Jack joined any type of cartel or he got himself into deep drugs. I just know that Jack knew he was in trouble, and that's why he left his beeper behind. I know that he was hinting to quite a few people. Back then, nobody caught on to anything. I don't think that he